Hi, this is Ed in San Diego, and welcome to Global TV Talk Show. Today's special guest, Angie Weinberger, will be with us in just a minute, and we're going to be discussing her role. Angie is the founder and managing director of Global People Transitions. That's globalpeopletransitions.com. And we're going to be talking today about influence, identity, isolation. This is all about well-being, expat well-being, anybody really. Regarding isolation, and I'm going to read this, expat partners may feel isolated and disconnected from their new environment. Moving to a new country and adjusting to a new life can take a toll on their mental health. Angie's an expert at dealing with this, and we're going to discuss that. It should be quite interesting. What do you think? The second I is identity. Expat partners may feel like they have lost their sense of identity as they have left behind their careers, social networks, and daily routines. Sound familiar? The third I today is influence. Expat partners may feel they need more control over their lives. We'll be right back with Angie Weinberger. Hello, Angie.
Hello, Ed.
Welcome. You're on Global TV Talk Show, and we are live. This is Angie Weinberger in Zurich, and I'm in San Diego. And this is the umpteenth time we're doing the show, and I thank you very much for being back on Global TV. So
thanks for inviting me again.
Yeah,
Ed,
sure.
And I hope you're well.
I couldn't be any better. Super excited about the London meeting and working almost round the clock organizing all that. So thank you for being involved. I'll talk with you offline about your introduction and more about that later. So we're going to be talking today about the three I's: isolation, identity, and influence, and how you get involved to helping, guiding expat partners in this situation of well-being with a question mark. Yes, no. Welcome, Angie. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, fantastic. So, I thought maybe we should talk a bit more about some challenges that, we identify for expat partners when moving to another country. And I will pick a bit on Switzerland because this is the country that I know the best, where I'm located in Zurich, know this job market pretty well, know how things work here. But I think this is not only true for Switzerland. I think, this is a general concern that we need to take more and more into consideration in global mobility. We have so many more dual career partners. We have more female expats accompanied by men who might not just be happy at home. And we have more and more also couples with same-sex background, where, it could be at least a bit of a challenge from a, let's say, immigration perspective. But when that challenge has been overcome, there's still no guarantee that you will actually be able to work in that country as a partner if you can't be legally married or if that is not accepted in the host location. So we thought about those three challenges, and as you already pointed out, and for our listeners and viewers to remember it better, let's talk about the three I's today: isolation, identity, and influence.
Before we move forward, I'd like to suggest, as a media coach here in my role, is that you pull your screen forward and down a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That way there's not so much white wall behind you.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, thank you very much for being on Global
Shall I
TV Talk Show.
shall I bring in my flowers too?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So do you want to put them on the other side of you?
No, it's fine.
No.
Everybody saw that. Tulips
So,
now.
yeah,
Spring is
tulips.
coming.
Yeah, I wish it would get here already. Boy. So, you know, the tulips are the only flower that you always have with you.
I didn't know
Tulips.
that.
Tu-
Yeah.
Tulips. Yeah.
Great joke.
Okay,
Thanks,
so
Ed.
we need to just lighten up this heavy topic here.
Yeah, you're
So
right. Yeah.
let's talk about same-sex things for a second. Switzerland, in particular, Zurich, it's a pretty conservative area, which means
Mhm.
U.S. 1950s something, or whatever. But are people shunned because of this situation, or are they just isolated?
So let's not talk about the immigration part, okay? Because that in every country has its own challenges.
Yeah.
But I would say from a societal perspective, Zurich especially, and also Geneva and Basel, I would say the bigger cities in Switzerland are very open when it comes to LGBTQ. So I do not think that people will have any issues, being socially accepted here. There's a large gay community, and many of my clients are gay, and I feel like it's a good city to be able to integrate here.
Well, good to know.
What I was more thinking about is the context of having had high power career, which is often the case with couples from the LGBTQ community, is you have two people that have a good career, high powered individuals, and then one of them is assigned to another country, and obviously the following partner would maybe not fit into the classical image that we have of the trailing spouse who stays at home and is happy to take care of the kids, the 1950s style trailing spouse. So I think what the employers need to do a lot more. They need to consider the expat partner a lot early in the process, because still in many companies this doesn't happen enough, and B, focus a bit more on the career coaching part in the process. So, I mean, my recommendation to global mobility managers would be to review the policy, to check, if there is enough expat partner support, but also that it is clear what it actually means and when it can be used. And that's not only true for the classical international assignees. It's even more important, I think, for example, when I look at this inbound market, it's even more important for those international hires. So the people who come here for the long term. Yeah. So like, you have companies like Zurich Insurance, Novartis, ABB, UBS, they hire from all over the world. So if you want to really attract those global talents, you need to think about, okay, what does it make attractive? And also, how can we make sure that their partner feels happy here?
Yeah. Yeah,
so I
very
think this
important.
is the identity part, because if you've always been working, if you always, consider yourself like a career person, no matter what gender you have, and then suddenly you're in a situation where either you can't work because of a permit or you can't work because you can't find a job, then this is actually a challenge for your identity. So I think this is, the critical aspect here. And
let's talk about
what happens next.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yes.
when your identity is challenged, you take it out on your partner. You're like, I'm nobody anymore. Yeah, we moved to Zurich, Switzerland, and yes, the lake is nice, but I'm nobody. I'm just your attachment now. So, and that's what we would like to avoid. Yeah, if we think about well-being, I mean, that's what we would like to avoid. We would like to have happy couples.
So one of our guests on a previous show was from the World Bank Family Network, Yvonne Kwa, and she wrote this book about dual career and the disruption and the problems. And so the title of her book reflects exactly what you just said. Whose career is this? Mine, yours, or ours? Well, so this topic is front and center, and I'm really glad to have you on the program to discuss this. So let's talk
Amazing.
about influence. How do you see influence? You mean the influence that I had before I went on this assignment is not there anymore because I'm not present wherever that was. And even though I'm getting pretty good at doing Zoom, it's not the same and will
Yeah.
never be the same. But it could be
Yeah.
effective if used right, with the right attitude, the right approaches. Is this part of your training, your advice to people is to get good on Zoom and maintain your mental well-being by using Zoom more effectively?
So 2 points here. And I think, I also need to cover the isolation part, maybe even, maybe that even before we talk about influence. Influence
Okay.
is almost, the way out. The isolation part, I think this is something that I've noticed already when I moved to Switzerland with some of the, challenges we had when I was still employed as a global mobility manager. Some of the challenges we had with partners of expat was they would stay at home for too long, and then they would start to drink or take drugs, or, they would just feel like they would just fall into this like negative spiral. So one of my aims since I started my company, whenever I start to coach spouses, is to get them out of the house. So for example, when I was working with a large pharmaceutical company in the 10 years ago, when I started this business, I would always tell them, you come to campus. Yeah, we're going to meet on campus. We're not going to do at that time, it was probably Skype. Yeah, we're not going to do an online call. I want you to get out of the house, get dressed, and, look presentable. And then, we start our professional coaching together. And this is exactly, one of the downsides I see with all of the online coaching, that it's, amazing for me as a coach, to be honest. But on the other hand, it is not another, it's another thing that they will do online.
That's a really good point you bring up, and it's the limitation. So a mix and match. So would you set up in your red chair a meeting, or would you say, let's go to the cafe down the street?
Yeah. So a few options. So a few options I just talked about with the one spouse today. Yeah. So start volunteering. Then another thing is they should do language courses, which now, after the pandemic, they're mostly classes again. So people would have reasons to get out of the house with volunteering and taking language classes. My course that I'm offering is not going to be a physical course, but then, what we can do is because they have a part of the course is one-on-one coaching. So when you have one-on-one coaching, you can come to my office and sit here with me if that is a preference. So I think it depends very much on the individual preferences, but I really noticed people would like to go back and meet in person. So we're gonna, for example, we're just currently running a series of free workshops. And at the end of the free workshops, because they're online, to open them to bigger audience, but we have a little party at my house later. So then, for the ones who actually would like to meet in person, they can come and meet in person and also use this to network a bit. And the final question you asked about the influence part. So I think, what is dangerous in any kind of situation, any kind of transition, is that you fall into a kind of a victim mentality. And when you do this, you need to step back into the area where you feel you can influence things in your life. Let's say, typical situation where people feel that they lose control is when they lose a partner. Yeah. So, but losing a career and losing a job because of somebody else's decision is almost as bad as losing a partner psychologically. So I think, this loss of control that might need some professional support. And then, we try to get people back into action so that they feel more in control again, that they feel more, I can influence my life again. And then obviously, once you start that you have power, once you start to feel powerful again, then you also can show that power on social media. Or, then you can develop a voice, you can develop a personal brand, you can be out there, network, etc. But, the part about getting into action first and feeling like I am in control of what is happening to me, that is the even harder and more important part here.
So can you see
sense?
this little plaque I have behind me here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an affirmation or something. I don't know what to call it. It's just good. And I thought it would be very appropriate for this conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk about influence. Now, what I would bet that most of the clients that you have are very accomplished, educated people.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they know all this stuff, but it's still emotional, and it can wreck a relationship because of passive aggressive behavior, because it's not sorted out, and then things come out when you're making dinner or washing dishes, or driving erratically, or just anything could spark a fight. And because the underlying cause is not being addressed properly.
Yes, because there seems to be a power imbalance. Yeah. So again, the following partner, might feel like I have no control because I had to follow you to save our relationship or to make sure we stay married. And you would assume that in any good relationship, there is a discussion before such a decision is taken. But we also, you and I, we know how sometimes companies, they push those decisions on people in a time frame that is usually, you don't have time to think it through with all consequences, and also in the early stages, there's this excitement about, going to another place, learning a new language, meeting new people. We have this honeymoon idea about a country. So, we think about Switzerland, we think about Heidi, the mountains, the beautiful, centrally located little spot in Europe from where you can then discover all of the other European countries. So we might not think through every little details of that decision in the spur of the moment of the excitement of the offer that you're receiving. So usually this slight resentment starts later in the process. So sometimes partners, they apply for jobs for 6 months, 9 months, and then they realize, oh, this is what happens, and this is my new reality now. And then in that frustration, obviously, they start to develop that victim mentality and blame it on their partner. And then what often happens is as well that, the expat themselves, they feel so bad that they overcompensate. And then they try to help. And this is also not always really good for the relationship.
Well, because the other person feels out of control or being controlled, and they rebel against that, not just their own feelings, which are unresolved to a large extent. And now they're taking on a target. Yeah. And then that can really be dangerous. If you can't find a pathway. Yeah.
So, and also, there's a lot to learn. I mean, imagine you had never had to apply for a job. Let's say, you've always had a good job, you've always had a career, and suddenly you're in a situation where you need to learn how to apply for a job because you never had to do it before. And our market here in Switzerland, everything is very much based on networks and trust and your brand and, who knows who, and not so much on, the excellent PhD that you have, or the great master's degree and the 15 years of experience in digital marketing.
So it's not who you know, but who knows you as a result of a social connection of some
Which
kind.
again, then the eye of influence is becoming so much more important. So in fact, we're running a workshop on this topic on Friday. It's an open workshop. It's free for everybody. It's called Powerful Missions, Having a Voice in a Sea of Noise. And, I really think this is sometimes people just, they don't understand some of those basics, like, how to develop that voice online and how long it takes to build a network, etc. So it's a big part of, building influence is also building professional relationships across the globe.
Well, I thank you very much for this succinct and rapid fire conversation. I think we've covered the 3 I's, but perhaps we should sum up before we take off here. And I want to thank you very much for your involvement in the May 9 London event. As you could see from the links that I sent, it's just blossomed really fast. So much so that now I'm getting ready to plan another excursion into Europe to include Switzerland, probably Zurich. But that would be in September.
Okay.
So more about that later.
Okay.
Yeah. So Joanne is coming with me to London, and then we're going to go out to the Cotswolds for a few days and then come back to San Diego rather than extend across Europe. So let's review quickly the 3 I's and how it fits into global people transitions and what you do in your day job.
Okay, so what we talked about was the identity topic, isolation and influence, summarized as in the 3 I's of the challenges expat partners face when moving to another country. With their expat. And the reason or the connection this has with my work in global people transitions is it was one of the main reasons why I started my company, to be honest. We help expat partners find a job, especially here in Zurich in Switzerland. And as I mentioned, we offer also a few free workshops at the moment. So if anybody's interested, we will share with you a link that you can add to your show notes, and people can join us for those free workshops to understand more about what we're doing and how we work.
Yeah, so you've, just to reiterate, you've built your business based upon your own experience and your prior corporate job in mobility management, internal for a corporation. And so that there's this crying need, and why hasn't it been paid attention to better over the years? And so you not only saw the opportunity, but you're able to help people.
Yes. And especially, if we go back to our topic of well-being in the workplace, I think having a happy expat couple is really my contribution to the happy workplace.
Amen. Thank you very much for being on Global TV. I'm sure this program will be viewed around the world because it's perfect for the well-being theme.
Thank you so much, Ed, and I wish you a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.